The signal came on an ordinary Tuesday morning, buried in the background radiation of space like a whisper in a hurricane. Dr. Sarah Chen had almost missed it, her eyes heavy from another 18-hour shift at the Global Defense Initiative's Deep Space Listening Post in Chile. But there it was, a pattern too perfect to be natural, too persistent to be ignored. "Run it again," she ordered, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The massive radio telescope array shifted imperceptibly, its countless antennae realigning to focus on that single point in space. The signal came through clearer this time, a series of pulses that made Sarah's blood run cold. The message was simple. "They are coming. The harvesters approach. Your world has been chosen." Within hours, the GDI's Emergency Council had convened. Sarah stood before them, her data projected onto the chamber's curved walls. Representatives from every major nation watched in silence as she explained what they'd found. "The signal originates from a point approximately 40 light-years from Earth," she explained, highlighting a cluster of stars. "Based on the decay pattern, it's been repeating for at least a century. Someone wanted to make absolutely certain we'd receive it." Admiral Hassan leaned forward, his weathered face grave. "And you're certain this is a warning, not a threat?" Sarah nodded. "The message continues with technical data, specifications for weapons, shield frequencies, tactical information. Whoever sent this wanted us to be prepared, or wanted us to exhaust our resources preparing for a non-existent threat," General John countered. "This could be an elaborate deception." Sarah pulled up another dataset. "The signal includes details about the harvesters that we can verify. Their ships have been observed at the edges of our galaxy, moving in a pattern consistent with systematic resource extraction. They've left dozens of dead worlds in their wake." The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Sarah understood their skepticism. Humanity had only recently begun to explore beyond their solar system. The idea that they were now facing an alien threat seemed like something from an old science fiction story. But the evidence was undeniable. The signal contained too much specific information, too many verifiable details, and now that they knew what to look for, other listening posts were picking up traces of the harvester fleet's approach. "How long do we have?" Admiral Hassan's question cut through the chaos. Sarah took a deep breath. "Based on their current velocity and trajectory, 18 months, maybe less." The silence that followed was deafening. 18 months to prepare humanity for its first contact with an alien civilization, one that had apparently designated Earth as its next target. "The signal includes more than just warnings," Sarah continued. "There's something else buried in the data, references to human history that no alien should know. Whoever sent this message knew us, knew our past, and they knew exactly when we'd be able to detect their warning." She brought up the final segment of the transmission, the part that had kept her awake for the past 3 nights. "The last part of the message is different. It's not just data, it's a key to something hidden on Earth itself, something left behind long ago, waiting to be found." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Humanity had always assumed they were alone in their development, that their civilization had grown in isolation. But this message suggested otherwise, that somewhere in Earth's distant past, they had been visited, perhaps even guided. "I need authorization to assemble a team," Sarah stated firmly. "The message includes coordinates, locations around the world where we might find what was left for us. If we're going to have any chance against the harvesters, we need to understand who sent this warning and what they left behind." Admiral Hassan studied her for a long moment before nodding. "You'll have whatever resources you need, Dr. Chen. But remember, this stays absolutely confidential. The last thing we need is global panic." Sarah left the council chamber with her mind racing. She had 18 months to unravel a mystery that spanned light years and millennia, to prepare humanity for a threat they could barely comprehend. And somewhere on Earth, buried beneath centuries of history, lay the key to their survival. As she walked through the GDI's underground complex, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The signal hadn't just brought a warning. It had brought questions about humanity's very origins. Who were these beings that knew them so well? Why had they waited until now to reveal themselves? And most importantly, what price would humanity have to pay for their first true contact with an alien civilization? She reached her lab and began assembling profiles of the experts she'd need: archaeologists, cryptographers, military strategists. The signal had mentioned specific locations, ancient sites around the world where something had been hidden long ago. Whatever they found, there would have to be enough to help humanity face what was coming. The harvesters were approaching, and Earth's 18-month countdown had begun. Commander James Rodriguez stood at the window of the orbital command station, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath him. 16 months had passed since Dr. Chen's discovery of the alien signal, and humanity had been changing faster than anyone could have predicted. The Unity Protocol had seemed impossible when first proposed, a complete integration of Earth's military forces under a single command structure. Yet here he was, wearing the new insignia of the United Earth Defense Force, preparing to coordinate humanity's first line of defense against an alien invasion. His tablet chimed with an incoming transmission from Dr. Chen. Her team had been working around the clock, following the coordinates hidden in the alien signal. "Commander, we found something. The site in Peru. It's not just artifacts. It's a facility." Rodriguez felt his pulse quicken. Active. Dormant, but intact. The technology matches the specifications from the signal. "James, I think this is what they left for us to find." He studied the preliminary scans she sent. Buried beneath an ancient temple complex lay something that defied conventional archaeology. A vast chamber filled with technology that shouldn't have existed thousands of years ago. "Have you managed to activate any of it?" "Not yet, but we found similar signatures at other sites. The Gobi Desert, the Sahara, beneath the Mediterranean. They're all connected somehow, waiting to be awakened." Rodriguez turned as Admiral Hassan entered the command center, followed by representatives from the world's remaining independent military forces. The Unity Protocol had brought most nations together, but some still resisted, clinging to their autonomy even in the face of extinction. "Dr. Chen has found another site," Rodriguez announced, sharing the data on the main display. "This makes 5 locations worldwide, exactly as predicted in the signal. And still no proof these installations will help us against the harvesters," General Zhang stated. He represented a coalition of nations that remained skeptical of the unified command structure. "The proof is in the signal itself," Rodriguez countered. "Everything it's told us has been verified. The harvester fleet's approach matches the predicted trajectory exactly. The technological specifications have already helped us upgrade our defensive capabilities." "And what of the cost?" Zhang demanded. "How many resources have we diverted to this wild chase? How many nations have compromised their sovereignty for this Unity Protocol?" Admiral Hassan stepped forward. "The cost of remaining divided would be far greater. The harvesters don't care about our national boundaries or political ideologies. Either we stand together, or we fall separately." The debate was interrupted by a sudden alert. Rodriguez turned to the tactical display as new data streamed in from the outer system monitoring stations. "Multiple objects detected crossing the Kuiper Belt," the sensor officer reported. "Mass and velocity consistent with the harvester signatures from the signal." The command center fell silent. They had expected 2 more months before first contact. The harvesters were ahead of schedule. "How long?" Hassan asked. "At current velocity, 3 weeks until they reach Earth orbit." Rodriguez watched the tactical display, his mind racing. 3 weeks to activate the ancient facilities, to complete the integration of Earth's defenses, to prepare humanity for its greatest challenge. "General Zhang," he said, turning to face the skeptical officer. "You wanted proof. Look at those readings. Everything Dr. Chen found in the signal is being confirmed. The harvesters are real, and they're coming for us all." Zhang studied the data, his expression grave. After a long moment, he nodded. "My superiors will need to be convinced, but you have my support, Commander. What do you need?" Every military asset you can spare. We need to protect Dr. Chen's teams while they work to activate the facilities. And we need to accelerate the Unity protocol. Full integration of all remaining independent forces. Hassan sent out an emergency alert to all UEDF commands worldwide. Within minutes, the command center was flooded with incoming reports and status updates as humanity's unified defense force mobilized for the first time. Rodriguez turned back to the window, watching the first squadrons of fighters launching from the orbital station. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of their solar system, the harvesters were approaching. An alien force that had destroyed countless worlds was coming to test humanity's strength. But humanity wasn't facing this threat alone. Someone had prepared for this moment, had hidden the tools they would need to survive. The signal hadn't just been a warning, it had been a gift. A chance to unite and evolve before it was too late. Now they had 3 weeks to prove they deserved that gift. Dr. Chen, Rodriguez called over the comm. How quickly can you get those facilities online? With full military support and unrestricted resources. Maybe 2 weeks. But Commander, there's something else. The signal. We've decoded more of it. These facilities, the technology they contain, they're not just weapons. They're keys to understanding who we really are. Rodriguez shared a look with Hassan. What do you mean? The beings who left these facilities, who sent us the warning. I don't think they were aliens. The evidence suggests they were human, or at least our ancestors. They faced the harvesters before, and they found a way to survive. Now it's our turn. The command center erupted in shocked murmurs. Their mysterious benefactors weren't alien allies. They were humanity's own forgotten past, reaching across time to help their descendants face an ancient enemy. The Unity Protocol had just become something far more significant than a military alliance. It was humanity's first step toward reclaiming their legacy among the stars. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the heart of the Peruvian facility, surrounded by technology that shouldn't exist. Crystalline pillars pulsed with internal light, responding to her presence in ways that defied conventional physics. 2 weeks had passed since the harvesters were detected, and time was running out. The patterns are identical to the other sites, she reported, her voice echoing through the vast chamber. Commander Rodriguez watched through her video feed from Orbital Command. Each facility seems to be part of a larger system, but we're missing something crucial. What about the new data from the Gobi site? Rodriguez asked. The Chinese team had reported unusual energy signatures after their latest activation attempt. Sarah pulled up the comparative analysis on her holographic display. There's a resonance between the facilities, growing stronger as we activate more systems. But it's not weapon technology, at least not in any conventional sense. She approached one of the crystalline pillars, studying the symbols etched into its surface. They weren't hieroglyphs or any known ancient script. They were mathematical equations, describing concepts that modern physics was only beginning to understand. Our ancestors left these facilities as a gift, she continued, but I don't think their primary purpose was military defense. They're more like keys to unlocking something within ourselves. The chamber's lighting shifted, responding to her thoughts. That was another mystery. The technology seemed specifically designed to interface with human consciousness, as if it had been calibrated to human brainwave patterns thousands of years ago. Dr. Chen, one of her assistants, called from an adjacent chamber. We found something in the new section. Sarah hurried through the crystalline archway, her heart racing. The team had been excavating deeper into the facility, following energy signatures that suggested there was much more to discover. The new chamber was smaller, but its walls were covered in what appeared to be a star map. At its center stood a single pillar, different from the others. Instead of crystal, it seemed to be made of pure light, somehow held in a stable form. It activated when we cleared the last of the debris, her assistant explained. And look at this. He pointed to a series of symbols appearing in the air around the pillar. Sarah's eyes widened as she recognized equations she'd been working with for years, her own research into quantum physics and consciousness. That's impossible, she whispered. These are modern theories. How could they be here? The answer hit her with stunning clarity. These weren't ancient artifacts showing modern science. These were the source of those theories. Humanity's greatest scientific insights hadn't been purely original discoveries. They had been memories, fragments of knowledge left behind by their ancestors, slowly resurging into humanity's collective consciousness. "Commander," she called, her voice urgent, "I know what these facilities are for. They're not just defense systems. They're a library, a record of everything our ancestors knew about the universe and our place in it. Can it help us stop the harvesters?" Rodriguez asked. "More than that, it can help us understand why they're coming and what we really are." Sarah touched the light pillar, and the entire chamber transformed. The star map came alive, showing the movement of civilizations across the galaxy over millions of years. "Our ancestors weren't just an advanced human civilization," she explained, watching the patterns unfold. "They were part of a galactic community. The harvesters destroyed that community, forcing the survivors to hide and rebuild. Earth wasn't our beginning. It was our sanctuary." The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't evolved solely on Earth. They were the descendants of survivors, protected and guided by the remnants of their ancient civilization, until they could reclaim their place among the stars. "The signal wasn't just a warning about the harvesters," Sarah continued. "It was a wake-up call. Our ancestors knew they would return, so they left us everything we would need to face them. Not just weapons, but knowledge of who we truly are." She turned to another series of symbols appearing around the light pillar. "These are activation sequences, but not for weapons. They're for unlocking abilities that have been dormant in our genes, abilities our ancestors possessed naturally." "What kind of abilities?" Rodriguez demanded. Before Sarah could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. The Harvester fleet had been detected passing Mars' orbit, accelerating toward Earth. They would arrive in less than 72 hours. "We're out of time for testing," Sarah declared. "Commander, I need authorization to attempt a full activation sequence, all facilities, simultaneously. The risks are nothing compared to what happens if the harvesters reach Earth. Our ancestors faced this choice before. Now it's our turn to decide. Do we remain as we are and face extinction, or do we reclaim our heritage and fight?" There was a long pause before Rodriguez responded. "Do it. Whatever happens, humanity faces it together." Sarah began the activation sequence, watching as the crystalline pillars pulsed with increasing intensity. Around the world, the other facilities responded, their combined energy building towards something unprecedented. The light pillar in the center of the chamber flared brilliantly, and Sarah felt something awaken in her mind. In everyone's minds, centuries of dormant potential, carefully preserved in human DNA, began to stir. The harvesters were coming to harvest a primitive world. Instead, they would face the reborn children of their ancient enemies, humanity awakened to its true nature and united in purpose. The real question was, after thousands of years of dormancy, would humanity's inherited powers be enough to stop the approaching storm? The activation changed everything. Across the globe, humans experienced an awakening that defied explanation. It began as a whisper in their minds, then grew into a symphony of shared consciousness and newfound power. Commander Rodriguez watched from Orbital Command as reports flooded in from every corner of Earth. Military pilots found they could interface directly with their aircraft, their thoughts merging with the machines. Scientists suddenly understood complex equations that had puzzled them for years. Even civilians were affected, discovering abilities that ranged from telepathic communication to matter manipulation. "Status report," Rodriguez demanded, his own mind still reeling from the changes. He could feel the presence of his crew around him, their thoughts a subtle background hum to his own. "Harvester fleet holding position just beyond lunar orbit," his tactical officer reported. 57 capital ships detected, with hundreds of smaller vessels. "They're scanning us, sir." The massive alien ships had arrived exactly as predicted, their black hulls absorbing light like cosmic wombs. But they hadn't immediately attacked as expected. Instead, they seemed hesitant, perhaps sensing that something had changed about their intended prey. Dr. Chen's voice came through the comm, her excitement palpable. "The facilities are fully operational, Commander. The activation sequence completed successfully across all sites. We're seeing energy signatures that match our ancestors' records of their defensive capabilities." Rodriguez nodded, feeling the integrated knowledge settling into his mind. The memories left behind by their ancestors weren't just technical data. They included tactical information, strategies used against the Harvesters in the ancient war. "They're moving," the tactical officer announced. "Multiple ships breaking formation, advancing toward Earth. Launch all squadrons," Rodriguez ordered. "Activate the planetary defense grid. Let's show them humanity remembers how to fight." Earth's combined forces rose to meet the threat. Fighter squadrons streamed from hidden bases, their pilots now capable of reactions that would have been impossible days ago. The ancient facilities hummed with power, projecting shields that could withstand a Harvester's most devastating weapons. The first shots were fired in high orbit, energy beams lancing between the opposing forces. But this wasn't the easy harvest the aliens had expected. Human pilots dodged with impossible precision, their enhanced reflexes and machine-melded consciousness giving them advantages their ancestors had possessed millennia ago. Multiple Harvester vessels damaged, the tactical officer reported. "Their weapons, sir, we're predicting their attack patterns. The ancestral combat data is giving us an edge." Rodriguez watched as humanity's defenders pressed their advantage. Squadrons of fighters moved in perfect coordination. Their pilots shared consciousness, allowing for strategies that no amount of training could have achieved. The ancient facilities provided more than just shields. They projected energy fields that disrupted the Harvester's own technology. But the aliens weren't easily defeated. Their massive ships began launching waves of smaller craft, each one carrying troops meant to begin the harvest of Earth. They had done this countless times before, stripping worlds of their resources and leaving nothing behind. Ground forces reporting multiple landing attempts. His command staff reported, "Major population centers are being targeted." "Activate the second phase defenses," Rodriguez ordered, drawing on the inherited knowledge in his mind. "Show them why Earth was chosen as humanity's sanctuary." Across the planet, the ancient facilities responded. The crystalline technology didn't just enhance human abilities, it transformed the very ground beneath their feet. Landing zones became impossible to hold as the Earth itself fought back against the invaders. The air grew thick with electromagnetic disturbances that shorted out Harvester technology. In orbit, the battle reached a fever pitch. Human ships, now guided by pilots who could think and react at superhuman speeds, tore through the alien formations. The Harvester fleet's coordination began to break down as they faced tactics they hadn't seen since the ancient war. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the largest Harvester vessel is moving into attack position. Energy readings are off the scale." Rodriguez studied the massive ship, feeling the inherited memories surge forward in his mind. They're preparing to use their primary weapon. The same weapon they used to destroy our ancestors' worlds. Can our shields hold against it? They don't have to. Rodriguez opened a channel to all Earth forces. "All units, implement Strategy 7, just like our ancestors planned." The human fleet scattered in what appeared to be a chaotic retreat. The Harvesters, sensing victory, brought their massive weapon to bear on the planet below. Energy began to gather at the front of their flagship, building to levels that could crack a planet's crust. But humanity had been waiting for this moment. As the weapon prepared to fire, every ancient facility on Earth activated simultaneously. The crystalline technology linked with the enhanced minds of billions of humans, creating a unified field of conscious energy that enveloped the planet. The Harvester weapon fired, its beam of devastating power lancing toward Earth. It met humanity's unified shield and reflected back. The alien flagship had no time to react. Its own weapon, amplified by the combined power of humanity's awakened potential, tore through its hull. Secondary explosions chained through the massive vessel as its power core went critical. All units, attack. Rodriguez commanded. Don't let them regroup. Human forces surged forward, their enhanced abilities and ancient technology proving too much for the demoralized Harvester fleet. Ships that had terrorized countless worlds found themselves outmaneuvered and overwhelmed by the very beings they had come to harvest. As the battle turned decisively in Earth's favor, Rodriguez received a priority message from Dr. Chen. Commander, the facilities are showing something new. The Harvesters, they've been here before, long ago. And they left something behind, something our ancestors couldn't find. What do you mean? There's another facility, hidden beneath the Atlantic Ocean. It's not ours. It's theirs. And now that we're awakened, we can detect it. Commander, I think we're about to discover why they really came back. The Atlantic facility was unlike anything they had seen before. Where humanity's ancient technology was crystalline and luminous, this structure was dark and angular, its corridors seeming to absorb both light and sound. Dr. Sarah Chen led the exploration team personally, her enhanced senses alert for any danger. The architecture is definitely Harvester, she reported to Commander Rodriguez, who monitored their progress from the surface ship above. But it's older than our ancestors' facilities. This place has been here for millions of years. The defeated Harvester fleet had retreated beyond the solar system, but not before several of their ships had attempted to reach this underwater location. The UEDF had prevented their access, and now humanity would be the first to uncover its secrets. Energy readings are similar to their ships, one of Sarah's team reported, but there's something else. Something familiar. They reached a vast chamber at the facility's heart. Unlike the sterile corridors, this room was alive with pulsing energy patterns that danced across its walls. At its center stood a pillar of darkness that seemed to bend reality around it. This is what they came back for, Sarah realized, studying the readings on her instruments. This isn't just a facility, it's a record, their record. She approached the dark pillar, her awakened consciousness detecting patterns that her normal senses never could have perceived. The Harvesters hadn't just been mindless destroyers, they had been searching for something they had lost. Commander, she called, her voice tight with emotion. I'm accessing their data storage. You need to see this. The information flooded into their enhanced minds, telling a story that spanned millions of years. The Harvesters hadn't always been destroyers. Once they had been explorers, seekers of knowledge who traveled the galaxy studying the evolution of consciousness itself. But something had gone wrong. In their pursuit of understanding, they had modified themselves, replacing organic components with technology until they barely resembled their original forms. The modifications had made them powerful, but had cost them something essential: their connection to the very consciousness they had sought to understand. They didn't come to destroy us, Sarah whispered. They came because we succeeded where they failed. Our ancestors found a way to merge consciousness and technology without losing their humanity. The Harvesters have been trying to recreate that achievement ever since. The dark pillar suddenly pulsed, and a new presence made itself known. It wasn't human or Harvester, but something in between, an artificial consciousness left behind to wait for the moment of contact. We have watched. It communicated directly into their minds. We have waited. Your awakening was the sign we sought. Sign of what? Sarah asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Of balance. Of success. Your kind has achieved what we could not. True synthesis between organic consciousness and technological enhancement. Our harvesting was never meant to destroy, but to find civilizations capable of this achievement. To find those who could help us remember what we lost. Rodriguez's voice came through the comm, touched with awe. They weren't trying to destroy us. They were testing us, pushing us to awaken our true potential. Yes, the artificial consciousness confirmed. Your ancestors understood in the end. They knew we would return when humanity was ready. The warning they left you was not just about defense. it was preparation for this moment. Sarah looked around the chamber with new understanding. You want us to help you restore what your people lost, to help you remember how to balance consciousness and technology. Will you? The question echoed through their minds. Will humanity share its achievement with those who once sought to harvest them? The answer came not just from Sarah or Rodriguez, but from the collective consciousness of humanity itself. Their awakening had given them not just power, but wisdom. They understood now that the cycle of conflict could end, that ancient enemies could become allies in the pursuit of greater understanding. We will, Sarah answered, speaking for her entire species. Not because we've forgotten what you did, but because we understand why you did it. Our ancestors found a way forward. Now we can show you that same path. The dark pillar's energy shifted, its ominous presence becoming something more harmonious. Around the world, the ancient facilities pulsed in response, their crystalline technology resonating with the harvester systems. Commander, Sarah called, send word to the fleet. Tell them to signal the retreating harvester ships. Tell them it's time to come home. In orbit, the remaining harvester vessels received humanity's message. Their response was not in words but in actions. The great ships turned, not to attack, but to dock with Earth's orbital stations. Ancient enemies began the first steps toward reconciliation. Sarah stood in the underwater chamber, watching as human and harvester technology began to synchronize. The awakening had given humanity more than just power. It had given them the chance to break a cycle of conflict millions of years old. Our ancestors left us a warning, she mused, but they also left us a choice. We could have used our awakened powers to destroy the harvesters completely. Instead, we chose to remember who we really are. Rodriguez completed her thought. Not just survivors or warriors, but teachers, guides for those who lost their way. The dark pillar's energy merged with the crystalline systems, creating something new. A synthesis of two ancient technologies, just as humanity had achieved a synthesis of consciousness and advancement. Above them, the first harvester representatives prepared to meet with Earth's leaders. Below in the ancient chamber, Sarah Chen watched the beginning of a new era. Humanity had not just reclaimed its heritage, it had transcended it, proving that the greatest power lay not in destruction, but in the capacity to help even ancient enemies find their way back to the light. The stars awaited, not as a battlefield, but as a frontier for two civilizations learning to walk a new path together. The war that had seemed inevitable had transformed into something else entirely, a chance for both humanity and the harvesters to write a new legacy among the stars.